This is 5.1 about ratios and ratio tables. So a ratio is a comparison between two quantities. The value of the ratio for A to B is the number we get from A over B. If we can simplify the fraction, we will simplify the fraction. So we could say 2 cats to 6 dogs, or a half cup of water for every 1/3 cup of soap. So the words to and for every show that we are working with ratios. The ratio of A to B can be written as A colon B. And this is how we would write the ratio. The fraction is how we would write the value of the ratio. So if I have some slime ingredients here, and we are asked to write the ratio of glue to water, I would have glue colon water. So I have 1 cup glue and 2 cups water, and so this would be 1 to 2. And it's important that the order matters, because 1 to 2, the value is 1/2. If I had water to glue, that's 2 to 1, and 2 over 1 is very different than 1 over 2. Then we can find and interpret the value of the ratio. So 1 to 2 we write as a fraction 1 over 2, and that means the amount of glue is half the amount of water, because it is glue to water to get 1/2. We can have equivalent ratios, and those are ratios that describe the same relationship. That means their values are equivalent. And we can organize equivalent ratios in a ratio table. To make the table, we can add or subtract quantities in equivalent ratios, or we can multiply or divide each quantity in a ratio by the same number. So if I am going to find the missing values in the ratio table, then write the equivalent ratios. So here, in blue, I have miles to hours, and I start with 3 to 1/2. To go from 3 to 6, I need to add 3. And when we add, we're going to add the ratio. So if I add 3 on top, on the bottom I'm going to add 1/2, because it is 3 to 1/2. So adding 1/2 on the bottom each time, and adding 3 on the top each time, that makes these equivalent ratios. And we would be finding these orange ones when we are given the blue ones. Next, we would write out our ratios: 3 to 1/2, 6 to 1, 9 to 2/3, and 12 to 2. We have gallons to days, and we start with 0.6 to 0.75. To get from 0.6 to 1.8, I would multiply by 3. When we multiply, you're going to multiply by the same number on top and bottom. So multiply by 3 on top, multiply by 3 on the bottom. Then to get from 1.8 to 5.4, I would add 0.6. And that is this ratio given here. So if I have 0.6 on top and 0.75 on the bottom, I would add 0.75 on the bottom here. And then we could write out our ratios in that from the table. Then we have socks to shoes, and that is given by 5 to 3. To go from 5 to 10, we could add 5. And if I add 5 on top, I add 3 on the bottom, because that is the matching ratio we have. So adding 3. Then to go from 10 to 40, we multiply by 4, and multiply the same number on top and bottom. Then to go from 40 to 20, we can divide by 2, and when you multiply or divide, do the same on top and bottom. So we can use a different combination of operations to find the missing values. A satellite orbiting Earth travels at 14.5 miles every 3 seconds. How far does the satellite travel in 3/4 of a minute? So if I have miles in seconds, we can go 14.5 miles in 3 seconds. Then 3/4 of a minute is 45 seconds. We would do 3/4 of 60, because there's 60 seconds in a minute, to get this 45. Then to go from 3 to 45, we multiply by 15, and since we multiplied here, we're going to multiply by the same thing up here, and that gives 217.5 miles in 45 seconds.